And we had sort of 90 minutes together. I'll use the first maybe 5 minutes to just give an introduction to the project, who we are, and what we're here to do, and the agenda for today. And then we'll open it up to discussion. I think this first touch point with folks in town is really to get a chance to hear from you before we dive into the market research. We really want to get an understanding for what the existing conditions are on the ground, and give you all the opportunity to share back with us any opportunities and challenges you've felt you've encountered over the years, whether as residents and customers or as business owners, in relocating or expanding your businesses here in town. And then we'll talk a little bit about what the town and the town's partners might be able to do to better support business growth here in Orleans. So that's the rough agenda we'll be going through today over the next sort of 90 minutes here. I know we had a much larger RSVP list, and Joe is getting a bunch more RSVPs this morning. But I want to be respectful of your time, so we'll maybe get started in a couple more minutes, because I think there's a couple more folks coming in.
I can move my chair
later
over.
arrival.
Jordan.
So free to sit wherever you would. Okay. Well, I want to be respectful of your time for folks that are already here. I know we'll probably get a few stragglers in the next few minutes. But my name is Noor. I'm the Assistant Director with the Public Nonprofit Solutions team at Street Sense, and we're the consultants been brought on to create the town's first ever economic development strategy. And this is our first of 3 more, community meetings and touchstones with folks on the ground. And I just want to take this opportunity to introduce ourselves, and also the project and what we're here to do. I think we just want to make sure before we dive into a discussion that we're all on the same page and we're aligned on what we're really hoping to achieve here today. So, I mentioned before, I'm with Street Sense. We're headquartered in DC. I'm based in New York. We're kind of all over the country, but we work primarily in helping the public sector and nonprofit organizations across the country deliver economic development strategies. So we're really a team of designers, planners, architects that think about places, downtown specifically, town centers, so ones like yours that you have here in Orleans. And we work with public groups and public organizations, so we know the tools that are available to public agencies, what they can do and what they can't do, and where we might need to bring partners from either the private sector or the nonprofit sector on board. A little bit about ourselves. We've worked across the country, and in terms of locally, Massachusetts-wise, we've just completed our work as program advisors with the Commonwealth on their rapid recovery plans. So that program by the Commonwealth really delivered 124 rapid recovery COVID recovery downtown plans, and it's a very similar process to what we're hoping to do here in Orleans, since you guys didn't get a chance to be part of that program. Those plans really identify key projects and recommendations for each of the towns that were involved in that program, and we're going to do the same thing here for Orleans, and the goal was really to discover what kinds of recommendations and strategies the public agencies and their partners needed to come together to deliver to recover from COVID impacts. So just as a baseline, I know this is the first economic development strategy for the town, so we really need to be we need to understand what economic development really is. And the definition is really about improving communities' well-being through a number of different strategies, whether it be attraction and creation and retention of jobs and businesses in town, or creating a pro-growth tax base and an inclusive economy. Obviously, inclusive economy has become a very vague term. It means different things to different communities, and that's what we're here to discover with stakeholders on the ground, what inclusive economy really means to people in Orleans, and that's why we're here to have that discussion. So our process will take us through about the next 4 to 5 months. We started in late November, getting a kickoff in place, getting outreach to all of you guys. You must have heard from someone or through a different media outlet about this meeting happening. So we've been busy doing that, and we're going to get close to 100 folks in the room here today through 4 different focus groups throughout the day today. The first phase is what we call Immersion and Discovery. So this is where we're at right now in the stage. Is we're just trying to immerse ourselves in town, talk to folks, visit different sites and properties and businesses. We were in town doing our site visit yesterday all day. We were on the ground with George, who is with the planning team here at town. He took us to all of the different commercial nodes and districts. I'll show you a map a little later about where we think your concentrations of economic activity currently are. So we've done a little bit of that, and we're going to be looking at 4 of these different categories as we're doing our research, and that's also going to shape our discussion here today. Is I'm going to find out from you what you think your strengths and challenges are in the physical environment, in the business environment. Administrative capacity is what we sort of term as your regulatory frameworks and structures, the organized landscape of organizations that might be able to implement economic development strategies in town. So that's what we term as administrative capacity. And then we're going to ask you about strengths and challenges in your business environment as well. So where you think your anchors and destinations are, what the current mix is or what the new mix might be, and where density might be located in terms of business activity. And then at the end of the entire project, our goal for the town is really to develop a plan that's actionable and that has projects and specific strategies that the town and any of its partners might be able to implement over the next few years. And those would be driven by core principles that will determine closely with the planning board, with major stakeholders in town, what are we trying to achieve in terms of economic development, and what are the steps that we'll need to take to get there. So that's the actionable strategy that we'll develop at the end of this project. So for today, since this is our first meeting with everyone here, I was just telling everyone earlier, it's a really quiet room. I know it's 8 in the morning, but this meeting is really for you to speak up and share with us your challenges, your opportunities, whether as customers or as business owners in town. And we really want to hear from you. So I would strongly encourage that you do not leave this room until you've shared with us clearly where you think the opportunities for economic development are here in town. Obviously, George or myself are available via email. You might have heard from Joe or from George via email about this meeting, so you know how to contact us, and if you don't feel comfortable sharing it in this room, please feel free to email either one of us after. But while we're all here in the room, let's feel free to share our thoughts and opinions. This is what we're here to do this morning. So we'll start with getting an introduction of folks. I know some of you shared your names, your relation to town, but I think it's nice to sort of just quickly go around the room so we know where your viewpoints might lie, what biases you might bring to the table, just so we have that in view as we're having conversations. So maybe we'll start here, Marsha.
Sure. I'm Marsha Allgaier. I do live in Orleans, and I also work for the town as the Affordable Housing Coordinator.
So my name is Jake Howarth. I've lived in town, went to school in Nauset, worked with the Goose Helmet. Family owns it, so kind of tied to this area for sure.
I'm Michael Herman. I have an organic farm in South Orleans, and I'm also on the select board.
I'm Dick Hartman. I'm on the planning board and also the Board of Water Sewer Commissioners. And a little background, and I know that George couldn't be here tonight. I thought that he might introduce the groups of, I had not planned to be at this meeting, but anticipating George not being here. Just a little bit of background. This whole economic development process kicked off by the FinCom and Lynn Bernot back at the, if you remember the town meeting at the middle school, where in the warrant, the letter from the FinCom, in essence, challenged the town to take a different look at economic development. And it was a kind of somebody, everybody, nobody doing something about it, and so the planning board kind of decided to is this our charge? And so we engaged the selectmen. It took us a while to get their support, trying to decide how to do things. And hopefully part of the outcome of this, through this process, the process was through a competitive bid with some very, very qualified firms. We selected Street Sensford. They're very, very impressive, and their work in the Commonwealth and knowing kind of where the money is, and if nothing else. One of the things we hope to come out of this, besides your ideas and what it means to each of you individually in the community, is that perhaps that the town can conduct business a little bit differently, if it makes sense, if it would benefit the town. Its vibrancy, its community, its economics. Frankly, we're not going to move the needle on the taxes much. We're 92% residential. That's where our money comes from. It's 92% of your residential property taxes. If we double it, it's not going to move the needle a whole lot. However, the vibrancy, the support, the kind of things for the type of community that I think we all would like to have in Orleans is important in this process. So, thank you for indulging me.
I'm Tim Sweeney. My wife and I own the Sparrow Gift Store on Main Street, and I'm also on the board of the Orleans Chamber of Commerce.
Catherine Wisman, resident, business owner. My husband and I run Blue Claw Boat Tours out of Orleans.
My name is Louis Jaramosky. I'm a retired pediatric dentist that lived in the Berkshires for 50 years, and we've had a home in South Orleans for the last 20, but moved down here permanently in 2020, almost 2 years ago, unbelievably. And we love living in Orleans. We tell our grandchildren it's always sunny in Orleans, especially when we leave the fog from Chatham, so. And I was really interested in the town. I see a lot of parallels between the Berkshires and Cape Cod. And the Berkshires had their own economic problems, Pittsfield with GE and all the problems they're doing. At least you have a road here. You have 6, one thing the Berkshires didn't have. But so I came here to just see what's going on and see if I could help in any way.
I'm Lynn Bernose, pardon my back, chair of the finance committee. Well, I've had for almost 5 years, and perhaps a recognized troublemaker in that regard. I've been coming to Orleans for 55 years and have owned property here for 35.
Thank you.
I'm Paula Morrison. I'm a resident and a property owner. I'm here because of curiosity. I don't own a business or whatever, so I'm just here to see what's going on.
Thank you for being here.
Hi, I'm Trish O'Connor. My husband and I have been coming to the Cape for about 45, 50 years. We currently have owned for the last 31 years in Orleans, and we love it here. And so we're interested to learn more about the potential of the town moving forward and what we can do to improve what's there now.
Tom O'Connor, married to Tricia O'Connor.
And you guys are full-time residents here?
Resident.
Mary Little, I'm a longtime resident. I don't own a business, but I've worked in town forever. And I'm always interested to see what's happening with the town and what we can improve upon.
I'm Perry Sparrow. I own the Hot Chocolate Sparrow with my sister. I'm a part-time resident. She's full-time.
I'm Helen Addison. I own the Addison Art Gallery and the mixed-use building that it's in.
My name is Brian Bessie. My family's owned business property in the center of the village district for almost 100 years. And seen a lot of changes.
Marcia Bechtold. I'm a resident and I represent Orleans Improvement Association. We're the ones who do the planters in town. We try to make downtown more desirable and a happy place for business and tourists and everybody else. We also have a lot of lighting that you can see right now. We've added this year because we do a lot of holiday decorations.
Chip Bechtold. I'm Marcia's husband, and I'm on the planning board and also represent Employee Sailing Association.
And last, I'm Tim Cunhan. I'm on the Finance Committee and a big advocate of economic development. I don't think you get vibrant communities if you don't have a strong economic development engine in your town. I'm also treasurer of Lower Cape TV, and we just purchased a building in town, and so we have sort of relevant experience in how the town treats new entrants.
So now we know we have a mix of residents, property owners, as well as business owners here, and town staff as well. So a lot of different perspectives, and we'll try to make sure that we address each one of yours through the discussion. So we'll take if we go back 10 to first 15 minutes or so talking about what's working. I like to start on a positive note, right? We want to know what currently exists that's a strength and an asset that we want to leverage and build further upon. So we'll start with the positives, what's working, and then we'll use the second third of the session talking about challenges. What stood in the way, whether in terms of property ownership, development. Sounds like there are a few property owners here, and as well as, as business owners, what barriers might have been in the way, whether with permitting, accessing customer base, or the physical environment, your storefronts, or beyond the storefront, the public realm. So we'll talk about the challenges and lessons learned, and then we want to think about what your priorities are based on what we hear from everyone here in the room in terms of assets and challenges, understanding where the gaps are. We'll think about priorities. There's going to be probably 100 different ideas that we'll get today from everyone in the room, but we want to narrow it down to the handful that will really make an impact in town. So that's just a rough agenda for the day. We might shift it around as the conversation goes. I like to keep it fluid so that everyone has a chance to speak and share. But before we dive into the first 15 minutes, just wanted to pull up a map of town. And when we talk about our commercial nodes, where we think the most commercial activity currently occurs in town, we've got 4 or 5 different districts here, and I think the table over there has a much larger map, so if you're interested in taking a closer look at them, please feel free to move around. You don't have to be seated at your seat the whole time, please feel free to move around. I have them up here as well as up on the easel as well. The Village Center obviously is the heart of business activity when it comes to businesses in the retail and restaurant sectors, right? And then we have East Orleans, very similar to Village Center, also retail and restaurant activity, a little bit of entertainment as well, because that's much closer to the beach and where your seasonal traffic and visitor traffic is sort of moving and flowing through. We have South Orleans, which is a much tinier, smaller node of activity. There's maybe 6 businesses in South Orleans right at that intersection. And that's sort of a neighborhood serving district or commercial district, I think. When we talk about neighborhood serving, who's really going there is probably folks that are living within the 5-10 minute radius of where that node is. So that's South Orleans. We have Rock Harbor. We can't forget the important marine activity that occurs in town. A lot of those businesses are there too. And also, of course, your industrial district. It might not be the prettiest district, right, by physical environment, but it's really where a lot of businesses are located that drive a lot of traffic and sales activity into town as well. So those are the main commercial districts. And actually, just an open question, are there other sections of town you think need to land in our radar as we're thinking about business activity and economic development? If we've missed out on any specific geographies or sections of town that have commercial activity that's not currently on this map? Anyone? Did we get it spot on? Yeah? Okay. So that's good to know. And I think Joe is going to...
Can I add one thing?
Yeah.
While it's technically the village center, I think the town code itself is an asset, not particularly a node that has its own unique characteristics that you're welcome. That might be recognized as Meth mentioned last night at the planning board meeting, as we look at some of the other activities going on there with dredging and things that are recreational, commercial, and retail activity surrounding town code.
Yeah.
I would add that also for East Orleans. When you talk about East Orleans, you talk about retail and restaurants, but there's also a marine economy that happens there also.
Are there specific streets and properties that we should be thinking about?
Yes.
Do you want to share that with us?
Well, you have to think about places like Nauset Marine. You have to think about the town landings at Barley Neck Road, on Meeting House Pond, River Road, and there are several other smaller landings that are usable, not so much for commercial activity, but certainly recreational activity.
That's very important. I think that drives into other tourism sector in some ways.
Well, I don't know if Village Center incorporates the underground mall area and Bay Ridge, that whole area of Orleans.
Yeah, that's in, I think, technically Finley Industrial District. It's a little lower down south. So yes, that's definitely in the focus area. Any others? No. Okay. So we're gonna keep expanding on the list. So I think the next 3 groups that are going to come in, they're going to also share with us if there are any other sections of town we should be paying a little more attention to. So thank you for that. We'll start off with the strengths and assets, what's working. I know there are business owners here in the room, so maybe we'll start with business owners and then we'll go over to residents. I'm really curious why Orleans, right? Why did you choose to locate your business here, whether it be personal reasons you're from town or you saw something, whether it was a property that was available that really gave you the opportunity to locate or expand your businesses. I'd like to hear a little bit more from the business owners as to why you chose to first locate in Orleans. So anyone on this side? I think yes.
Sure. Access to the water.
Access to the water.
When we've been here since 1995, we didn't start our business until 2008. One of the driving factors here was the sense of community and the great schools. We brought young children to the town. the beauty and the natural resource of Orleans is really unparalleled. And I think that that's what brings a lot of people to town. The beaches are certainly one of them, but access to the waterways and to be able to recreate on the waterways is a huge draw to town.
Farm. No reason you chose to locate in Orleans?
Oh, family.
Family? Okay. We have a business over there.
Oh, I just bought it from my parents a couple of years ago, so who knows why they chose.
We'll call that family reasons, family ties, so that's important to take note, though. Anyone else that owns a business?
For sure, natural resources.
Natural.
In addition, outdoor store,
Okay.
Cape Cod,
Yeah.
the fish and everything. But access to the waterways for sure. Town Cove especially, because there's multiple landings. It's protected. So a lot of people don't like to go out into the ocean. A lot of people, myself included, we go out to the beach on Sundays, Mondays, whenever we can. There'll be 100 boats out there. And that's really good for the whole town, I think.
Are there other locations you were considering that were comparative to Orleans?
Well, that business has been there since 1946, and my parents purchased it in 2012. So,
No other.
We lived here. We moved here particularly for the sense of community and the great schools. When we moved here, our kids were 3 and 9, so they've grown up here. And as we are boaters, my husband grew up in a boatyard, has worked as a licensed captain since 1981. That was the big draw to this community. We could have moved anywhere. We moved here from New York. We went to the Chesapeake, we went down south. We looked at a lot of different areas, and the thing that drove us here was Pleasant Bay, Town Cove, Cape Cod Bay.
So it sounds like quality of life.
Yes.
Conditions were a factor. You mentioned schools. Okay. But the other thing we want to think about too is, as you know, the way folks work changes in the future, and people have the flexibility to almost live anywhere and work anywhere. We also want to consider, you know, quality of life factors and how those come into play in economic development. If we're hoping to attract young professionals, for example, with businesses in other service sectors, what are they also looking for as young families or single young professionals? Quality of life is an important factor. So it's good to know school district is something that was a consideration as well. So maybe we'll...
I'm not a business owner, but maybe to help articulate some of what these people are saying is the size and scale of access to these things. You don't have to go very far to get to the water. Mm-hmm. The town, it's a compressed access to these, and the comment that was made about the roads, that there are usable roads to get to some of these things. So I think that counts, that you can easily cross town and stay in town to get to some of these facilities and so on. You're not having to drive 10 miles, 20 miles to get to the water, to get to these facilities.
And the other thing, while people, people generalize about Cape Cod, we're the only town in the Cape that has 2 exits that dump into downtown. That we come right in, you get off the exits and you come right into our commercial districts. Every other town you got to serpentine your way through, right. So that access is incredibly convenient, and does, in my opinion, does give us that sense of community.
I want to flip that a little bit and ask if that has led to any other kinds of challenges with access in terms of having, 4 lanes of traffic moving through your downtown, parking on the sides. In the summer, I'm sure that, the roads get backed up, and there's congestion. And then at the same time, you have folks that are walking between stores and restaurants. Has that ever posed an issue as local residents and customers in the area? And especially if you have a popular weekend and far more traffic and people from outside coming into town in the traffic?
But I don't think so, because if you're not intending to come, you just keep going on the highway. You don't have to come through Orleans to get to Eastham, Wellfleet, Truro, and Petong. you just stay on the highway. So it's not that we become a clog if you're going further. So if you're coming to Orleans for the summer for activity and recreation and so on, you're intending to come here. So we want people to come here to spend their money and so on, and enjoy, et cetera, et cetera. So yes, there's more traffic, yes, the population triples, quadruples, but that's by intent, not because they get log jammed in Orleans by the traffic.
I had a comment back there.
Well, I think since COVID, it's obvious there's a lot more people here, and I think there's more walkers, there's more bikers, and that concerns me in terms of safety. You know, I've noticed a difference, so I think that's something we have to take into account.
Yeah. The bike infrastructure, I guess, you know, there has been expansion of the sharrows on your roads. Are there cyclists here in town, in the room, sorry, that, no? Okay.
This is going to say just from a lifestyle point of view, as someone who moved here, and not necessarily feel like you're limited to one town and you never go to another town. Orleans is so perfectly situated in the Cape because you can be in Provincetown, you can be in Hyannis, I mean, but as a home base, it's great here. So we really love the position of Orleans with all the other things that was mentioned, the water and so forth.
For the residents, why did you choose to locate in Orleans other than we've heard natural resources and access to water, school district, and family ties? Are there any other factors that drove you here to Orleans as residents? Those?
We're really lucky to have a town center. When I moved to the Cape, I lived in East Harwich. And that intersection there where that traffic light is, there was virtually nothing there. There was a Stop and Shop, and now that's all grown up, but there's really not a town center. And then I moved to Brewster, and there's no town center there. I lived down on, it's been so long I forgot the road, but way off in the town center seemed to be the Brewster store, you know, and the Unitarian Church, but there's no town center. It's just one long string. So I think the fact that we do have an actual town center, Eastham doesn't really have a town center. We have a town center incomparable to towns around us. So, and we do have those exits and the ability to get in from several different angles. But the fact that we do have a actual town center that's vibrant, like the whole commercial center for the Lower Cape is right there, right here in Orleans. So.
Yeah, that's definitely an asset, especially for residents.
One of the unsaid things is the architectural elements that are here. The roadscape, the number of historic homes on Main Street going out to the beach, on Main Street going to Rock Harbor, on Main Street going up Tonsett Road around Town Cove is unique to a lot of communities. And so the preservation of those and the ongoing desire to live amongst those, I think, is also an ongoing draw for a lot of people.
You know, as far as the visitors here in the summer, many of the residents just modify their schedules and their driving habits. You learn that you don't turn left because you're going to get killed. You don't go to the grocery store until around 6:30 or 7 o'clock on Wednesday night.
Yeah.
You adapt.
Yeah.
You know, it's no big deal.
Okay. It's good to know. And for business owners, are there other factors that have led to your business success? So what are the key things that are, first I want to know, has business been in the upward trajectory? Has it stayed sort of same over the last 5 years, or has it, you know, taken a dip a little in the last 5 years? Just want to understand performance for your businesses in the last few years and what factors might be, you know, in play here as we think about that trajectory. So maybe we'll start.
I mean, COVID definitely helped us.
Okay.
It was at the same time getting products and all of that fun stuff, but everyone was outside trying to recreate.
Mm-hmm.
And we are in, like everyone said here, pretty much in the perfect place. Got over 360 ponds on the Cape. How many ponds in Orleans, I don't know. And then you got the ocean. We had a great run this year, stripers, tuna fish, all kinds of natural stuff that's right there. And that's what we do, so.
So you're on the upward trajectory.
Yeah, yeah.
Great. And COVID helped in some ways.
Yeah, I got gray hairs and I'm 25. But it's all right.
Great.
I wouldn't say COVID helped, but it didn't hurt. It's a new business in the last couple of years. The support of the town for the Orleans Farmers Market, which happens to be one of the largest on the Cape, and they do a great job. That has been great for, of course, farming business.
Yeah.
And the local restaurants and markets have been very supportive of local products. So that's a big difference.
The upward trajectory has been great. COVID presented a lot of challenges for us. Being that we were an outdoor business, that was a positive. But we changed our business model completely in 2020 from what we would normally do. We continued it this summer because that's what people were looking for. Unfortunately, the town is going to present challenges to us moving forward, and I can talk about that in the next section.
Okay. Great. Anyone else understand?
Well, yeah, we're retail. We're in our 10th year. COVID, we had to shut down. I mean, you shut down, you don't know, we're going to, right now, people are saying, what are you going to do for next year? We don't know. We're open every day through Christmas. Who knows what is going to happen in the dead of winter? We have no idea. So many challenges, and I'm not the only business that was closed for an extended period of time. And then all of a sudden you're going to reopen and you have to get new merchandise, and that was extremely challenging. But through all that, I would say we had some pretty good numbers, and mainly because of where we are, and we are 3 miles from Nauset Beach and 1 mile from Rock Harbor, and people come, and we have a following, a clientele, people that, when we reopened, it's really gratifying to hear, we're really glad you reopened.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be the same without you, and that kind of thing. So the numbers aren't bad, they're not what they were pre-COVID, and who knows what's going to happen next. But
And so, did you adapt to COVID in the last year and a half? We've heard you've had to adapt and do things a little differently. You've heard retailers that have had to try to sell online or to do curbside pickup for their customers that are local. So are there things that you had to do to adapt to the situation?
Yeah, a million.
Could you share with us a little bit about what you did?
You try and get stuff, you adjust your hours, we used to be open 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Now we're open 10 to 5. It's like you can't do the things you used to do, and you can't get everything that you want to, you can't have everything that you want to have. But like I said, fortunately, we have a faithful, loyal base, and we're right in town, and everybody knows,
And baseball came back. And baseball came back.
They, somewhat. They started late, and
but that helped, right?
That I don't know if it helped this stuff much. In our place, we're the only place to get Firebirds merchandise other than at a game, but they didn't order that much because they were limited, and we really got none. So we didn't get a lot of draw from Cape Cod business this year, league business.
Let's start with
Orleans generally was thought of as, for many years, as the hub of the Lower Cape, and a lot of tourists came here. All the motels are gone virtually compared to what we used to have. So we really don't get tourists coming to Orleans that much anymore. I know people I have a tenant in Orleans that has a shop, a women's clothing shop, and she has one in Wellfleet. She does more volume in Wellfleet in 3 months than she does all year in Orleans. There's people on their way to Provincetown, which is a destination. Wellfleet is a tourist destination. They all stop in there. Retail, of course, we've seen it happen. over the last 5 years or longer, but particularly exacerbated by COVID, the retail is dying fast. I am losing tenants and will be losing tenants. I've had to slash rents, give free rents to keep storefronts open. And most of us around here, if we look in some of the major retailers in town, you'll see that they're in deep trouble. There's going to be a lot of closures in the next couple of years.
If I could
I have
get
tenants
back
that will
on
not be
that, I know my
renewing.
brother has a shop uptown, and COVID caused him to have to renegotiate lease. You close for 4 months, the rent continues on. You have to figure out how to do that. And so, to everyone's point, retail is a struggle here in this community.
Where are your customers coming from, maybe with your retail storefront?
Where are they coming from?
Yeah.
Local,
Okay.
because we have local products.
Local
We-
to Orleans, or how much further away are they driving from?
Well, they come from all over. I mean, we get local, I would say a lot of our customers are from New York, Connecticut, close enough to drive. But we have a pretty loyal local base of people that come in.
We for sure have this huge local based customers that have been coming to us since, they've been kids this big, always say it. But we're kind of different than most businesses because we are like experts at fishing. We'll have people driving from Connecticut, New York, just to come to our shop because it's not just the stuff we sell, it's like our specialty. We know a lot more than the regular person about it, and they value that a lot more than 3-hour car rides. So I would think that we, as a shop, are a little different because we draw a lot more people in from areas because they want to go catch that fish. They want to know how. We'll sit down and talk to them for an hour, 2 hours easily. So I think that's kind of what makes us a little different.
But 60 to 80% of your customers, are they local?
No.
No?
Not at all.
Okay. Yes.
The gallery did very well during COVID. It's because we have a national client base and we have a great online presence. And we too have people drive from hours away to visit, and we ship all over the country and to Europe during COVID.
Great. Sorry, Jim.
Speaking for Namaquoy Settling Association, we lost the year 2020. We have a school for students from the age of 18 to 15 or so. We get about 100 to 200 students a summer. It's an 8-week program. In 2020, we didn't start at all. We really struggled last year in April deciding whether we should go ahead or not. And as you'll recall, the shots were given in January and February. So we were still waiting for people to get inoculated. The children hadn't been inoculated. The teenagers hadn't been inoculated.
Mm-hmm.
We have a staff of between 5 and 8 paid employees for the summer. And but we decided to go ahead. And the momentum started to build. And the bottom line was, at the end of the year, we had the best year we've ever had. And a lot of the students came from off Cape. Some of them were local. But it was a very good program. We made a lot of money, matter of fact, which we're now reinvesting in facilities.
So it sounds like outdoor recreation experiences are sort of still going on the upward trajectory, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that people had to be outdoors in order to recreate during COVID, and they've sort of adapted that long term, and people are doing it more.
I would say it was pre-COVID also. We've been in business since 2008, and we get people from really all over the country, internationally. Of course, that's been shut down, but we get people who call us and say, we want to come because we want to get out on the water. And to speak to Goose Hummock, we get a lot of people who the husbands go out and fish, and the families come out with us to take a boat ride. So there's a lot of interconnection here. We get people from the metro area. We do have a loyal local base who live either in Orleans or the surrounding communities, who when they have visitors, they say, let's go out on the water. And we're it. So, I mean, there's a couple other small operators, but basically, we can provide that. In addition, it's different than the charter boat industry that works out of Rock Harbor. So we provide something that is different than Rock Harbor, than Goose Hummock, but meshes and interconnects with it. So our business is, you know, like I said, we do have a lot of locals, but we do bring a lot of tourists to town.
Just to one point that Orleans has always been basically a seasonal economy for the most part. But I think the seasonal economy is still somewhat viable in certain respects, not all of it. But the year-round business is the thing that's dying. You know, there is no retail in the winter at all. Shops are just...
How many months in a year do you operate your
well, we're very weather dependent,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
generally
People just
mid-May to
leave
mid-September.
at the end of
mid-May to
the door.
mid-September, so
They're not
that's the
really
popular peak season, I
So
guess,
online's
right?
helping.
And they're staying.
I don't quite see Orleans dying. We have people come from other parts of the Cape, in fact, of Orleans. I think Orleans is still very viable and is a draw, and even mostly year-round, maybe not particularly in the dead of winter, but we have people that say they come from Sandwich for the day just to come to Orleans, or Dennis, or somewhere. People are coming, and don't forget, I was on the committee that helped get the cultural designation. So we got the cultural designation. You had to have certain requirements to have this many restaurants, this many cultural things, theaters, you know, performance. And then we have the historic designation now too. So we get money from the state to promote that. So my view of it isn't as
Bleak.
isn't stressful. We have challenges, but we're working on now 5-year road plan. We got roads. It's like driving on pillows now, all of a sudden compared to,
Depends where you are.
you know, so we have roads. That was tough to go through, but we're almost through that now.
Yeah.
So my view is a little more optimistic.
To the point about the dying, and again, I've been coming here for 55 years, so not as long as many of you, but where CVS is in the center of town was a movie theater, and Puritan Clothing used to be near where Guapo's no longer is, and there used to be more different store fronts. I remember this is in the old days too, was it a Montgomery Ward or a Sears catalog store on Cove Road? Remember that? So there used to be more and different and other retail type establishments, and some of that has morphed, but there's a good number of empty storefronts and so on. So we're in a transition and we're working on it.
Yeah.
So to give ourselves credit, we're working on it, and we're all collectively well aware that we've got problems, and that's why we're here.
Yeah.
To work on this, to solve this, to fix it. But yeah, but there is a lot of dying that we need to fix, we need to solve.
Yeah, and that's, you know, we work across the country, that's a national issue. It's not just unique to you. Every downtown Main Street is sort of facing very similar challenges. Especially if they're not the main destination competitor. So the retail will change, and we'll definitely, you know, look a little more into what that means for Orleans moving forward. But I wanted to touch on the cultural district a little bit. That kind of reminds me of your anchors and your destinations. And I want to hear from the residents about what you think the anchor or the destination in the town currently is, right? Whether it be the theater, the playhouse, or it might be the Stop and Shop.
Shores and Friends.
Stop and Shop?
Shores and Friends.
Yes, got it. So those are all grocery stores.
And the post offices.
Post office, yes.
Multiple, 3 of them, you know, there's 3.
Right, but that's not a destination, that's where people here.
That's a
The
what?
post- That's for the people here, the post offices.
Primarily,
Yeah.
Well,
agreed.
I think that it's a civic anchor for sure, for a town, and I think, you know, groceries,
Forgot Staples.
staples.
I was gonna say, with that, I mean, my grandchildren think I work at Stop and Shop because they always seem to be there, but, the other thing for us, which I think is a great advantage, is the weather here is so temperate relative to the rest of New England. I mean, living in the Berkshires, we've got snow now, it's freezing, like we always are every year. And I feel like I'm living in North Carolina now, you know, 50 degrees, middle of December, we can go to Nauset Beach. I think the beaches are a great draw. The kids can't wait to get here and go to the beach. You know, Nauset, when you're a little younger, they will escape it. And the fact you can be there almost any time. And then having Stop and Shop, having TJ's up there, I mean, it's not a whole lot of diversity of business, but at least there's something here. And if you have to go to Hyannis, you're 20 minutes away. But I think we're like the 7 in the grow zone here, so we're just like Virginia, the east coast of Maryland. I'm from Baltimore originally, so I know what Mid-Atlantic's like. So it's just to be here, and the fact that you can play golf all winter long, almost. I mean, I'm not that crazy about it, but I mean, I do see people out there.
The golf courses.
Yeah, it's a great draw, and it's not that harsh. That's
But we
all.
don't have any here, right?
Anyway.
Golf
Golf
courses.
courses.
Just a mini golf.
Well, I know, I'm sorry.
I'm just saying, be careful about what you write down, because
Right.
we,
Well, I mean, but you can play golf, that's what I'm saying. You can go to, you
the
can go to
temperate climate is.
Captain's is right around the corner, anyway, it's Brewster, but it's right there.
I think the beaches, the water is the really big draw here, but we're lucky we have a regional school, the middle school is a draw, and the bike trail.
Bike trail's great, yeah.
I don't know if there's anyone in the room that can speak to the trail. Is that bringing a lot of traffic regionally, whether it's during the summer or year-round?
I
You know,
think
we've
so.
worked in a lot of rail trail communities, and that's primarily, it's a big way in which particularly customers who have healthy lifestyles or a very specific customer base that uses the trail that come through town. I'm not sure if there's anyone here that can speak to that.
Yes, my store is right off the bike trail. We're next, adjacent to 2 bike shops, and we started about 5 years ago, started selling a lot of bike-related merchandise. I would say in the summer, 60% of the people that come in have a bike number on their head.
And to that, and I don't bike, but does Orleans have better access to a bike trail than some of the other towns because of the amount of parking that's
I think
more
so. It
easily
runs right
available
through.
than, like in Brewster, there's roads that cross it,
Yeah.
but where do you park? See what I'm asking? And again, I'm not a biker, so.
We have the big parking lot
I know we
surrounding
do.
the Hot Chocolate Sparrow, and
Yeah,
there's the
yeah,
town
but
park.
do other towns, I'm just saying from a competitive
I would say,
standpoint. Yeah, I'm just thinking that again.
Well, it's also where the middle mile marker, so
Right.
mile number
that's cool
13
too,
out
yeah, yeah.
of 26, so it's kind of where you go to go either
Right,
direction.
right.
so.
Right.
But yes, I think that we're kind of central for bike trail people. They can go either way pretty easily. But I also think that intersection there's the scariest thing in the world. Summer when there's bikes.
Yeah.
I think that's very problematic.
Yeah.
I think our open space is also a draw. I mean, my wife and I walk in Kents Point all the time, and that has been like overrun for the past 2 years. I mean, it's just a tremendous amount of traffic through there. And I imagine that it's happening in other parts of town. I know there's, where is it, up at Woods Cove, there's a lot of traffic. I mean, so people come to recreate, and they come for the open space and the access to the water. Right? You know, those are the big draws.
Just a point that we brought up when we, a couple of years ago, when we had discussions about redoing Main Street in the center of town, about areas where we have crosswalks, where the bike crosses, and pedestrian usage of intersections and where they should cross, and we built bump out crosswalks that lost 7 parking places in an important part of Main Street. And one point that I brought up that was basically never even really carried or thought about, but Orleans used to have one walking policeman in the district during the daytime, just hello, goodbye, whatever. But just their presence changed traffic behavior, bicycle behavior tremendously. And then we had the summer kind of unofficial police types, mostly like young men riding bikes around town in uniform. And it just made a tremendous difference of the courtesy of driving and everything. And it just seems to me that as a budgetary issue, it would be worth its weight in gold to help calm things down in the center of town, especially with so many bikers crossing roads and everything.
Are there any other anchors? I know there's sort of entertainment sort of lacking in terms of like a theater or a cinema, but are there other things that happen throughout the year that serve as your entertainment in town, whether it be concerts in the park or movies in the park? There's all, in a lot of main streets and downtowns, if they don't have a theater or they don't have a bowling alley, they sort of use their town villages and village greens to hold some of these activities outdoors. So
in the summer we have concerts on the green, or music on the green, and now we've got the small music at 44 Main Street at the old fire station. And then Academy Theater isn't too far down the road. And
We're also looking to move the bandstand, trying to figure out where that's going to go.
in the old days, again, I can't remember when the last one was, but there used to be, at the end of August, the symphony played on the ball field. They were sponsored, I think, by the Cape Cod Foundation. But remember that event?
Symphony.
That was just amazing.
Sponsored by Cape Cod Foundation.
That Cape Cod Symphony they came and it was a huge event, kind of the end of the summer thing. People brought their food, there were tables, there was, it was a gala, almost like a gala, it was really amazing. But we haven't had that in a long time.
And don't forget the Firebirds.
Sorry.
And the
We
fire
used to have the gazebo band at Nauset Beach once a week too.
Yeah, the concerts at the beach, right.
Concerts at the beach. Okay.
I was just going to say, one of the big draw is our library.
Oh, library is wonderful.
And there is live music at the farmer's market every Saturday.
Oh, that's right.
The Community of Jesus has theater, and they're building a big new art center as well.
Yeah. In fact, go now, because they're doing Christmas Carol. This is the last weekend, and it's amazing.
Did you get
Community of Jesus.
What was this called?
Community of Jesus.
Oh, is that in Rock
At Rock
Harbor?
Harbor.
Yeah.
In terms of the outdoor music and things, we actually have a quite robust schedule. However, I don't think, except for the stuff that used to be at the beach, it's sparsely tended. It is not. We're kind of reverse commuters because my wife's from the south and she traveled the west as a kid, so we do that a little bit in the summer. And we go to places, Big Sky, Montana is the place we go. And they have festival upon festival upon festival. And they're a similar community, except that they've decided to do it differently in terms of seasonality and not as many year-round people. But our music in our outdoor events are very sparsely attended. It could be that there's more to do with the beach and people are out later, that late afternoon, early evening is not appropriate or whatever. But we've always been kind of disappointed because something we look forward to that started coming up is not as robust as you would think it could be. And I don't know how that should or could change.
The bonfire at the beach this summer was fantastic.
Right.
And they had music, and the beach was absolutely crowded, and a really, really nice evening. So there was that, but I think it's also the fact, like, who knows about these things? Like, sometimes people will drive by and say, oh, if I had known that was going to happen today or tonight, I would have gladly attended, you know, but if you don't know that it's there, you're not gonna go.
Yeah.
But that's part of the Pond Coalition Celebrate Our Waters. That's the closing event of that weekend. Celebrate Our Waters in mid-September, October?
Yeah.
Who else is organizing the events in town other than the coalition?
The chamber.
Who else is
The
organizing
chamber?
what?
Some
The
of you,
events? Yep.
some of you know me as someone who does play music professionally, and have. So I've played at the parish park. COVID changed a lot of things. I also played about 6 times at the Barley Neck Inn, and everybody here knows that was highly publicized with a noise issue. I played there, you know, so I've played around town at these things, but you have to remember COVID changed everything. I mean, everything. All my gigs this past summer were all outdoor. Flying Fish, Barley Neck, Farmers Market, things like that where you could do outside. So that has changed the
Hog Island.
Hog Island. I played there, so they had to be outdoor events. So that has changed a lot of things, and who knows how that's going to change. But the chamber had music through the summer, pre-COVID, you know, BP, before pandemic. There was a fair amount of music in town. So COVID has changed a lot of that, and who knows when we get it back.
I'm sorry.
Oh, and don't forget the block party.
Oh, right.
Block party, one Wednesday a summer, which I've said for a long time should be many Wednesdays in the summer. Block off that thing in Main Street.
But it's the police.
Red Orleans Historical Society, which is immediately across the street, has been having concerts for years. Small, but they do.
Where do they hold their concerts? At their
Yeah.
property? Okay.
Yeah, and historical exhibits, things such as that have gone on.
I think one thing that speaks to the fact that people don't necessarily know what's going on is we've kind of lost our hometown newspaper. The Cape Codder, which was run in Orleans, for Orleans, has been taken over multiple times now by a national corporation. I know people who work for it, have worked for it, and it's become very novel. I mean, there's local information there, but there used to be a calendar of events, so all these organizations could, you know, let the paper know that the week of, you know, July 1st to July 7th, there's this, and this going on. So if you came to town and you wanted to know what was going on, you pick up the local paper. I know I do that wherever I go. I pick up the local paper, what's going on. We've kind of lost that, and I think that was a way for people to get the whole gamut of what's going on in town. Now, you have to know to go, you know, what's happening at the Historical Society, what's happening at the farmer's market, what's happening, you know, you have to go to the individual entities. So by losing really our local newspaper, I think it's scattered the knowledge of what is going on in town.
That's a really good point, thank you. Let's maybe move on. We have 30 minutes, yes.
They are working on revamping the
I hope
website
so.
of the town, just so that
Great,
you know
okay.
that this spring, and the community calendar on there should be much more robust. So it might be a nice one-stop destination for all businesses to be able to post their activities, because there should be a one-stop destination, because a lot of people don't know they exist.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And just, yes.
Just one point that all the accoutrements of music and entertainment and beaches are great, and they do people come here for those purposes. I think what we're really talking about here, though, is economics. People making a living. And I can't, we've got to remember that that's the real root of what this is all about.
Well, yes, and entertainment is a really core component for retail and restaurant businesses particularly. because they are complementary to the retail and restaurant, right? Folks are, if they want to spend 3 hours in Orleans, they're going to spend 3 hours in one store or 2 or 4 stores. They want a concert in the park that they're walking past. It's the ambient or active entertainment that also drives traffic and also increases visibility to the town. If someone is, if you have a farmer's market that's outdoors and you have a concert that's happening right next to it, it signals to the customer, this is a commercial district. I'm going to pop in and I'm going to wait, park my car, walk between stores, go to different businesses, and at the same time enjoy ambient entertainment that occurs downtown. So we've seen this. There's almost a formula to this that's worked in a lot of towns across the country where the businesses actually benefit from having supplementary activities, whether it be a performance or someone just puts out entertainment games in the lawn, right? We've seen that work in plenty of places. I think in Hyannis they have some in their green as well, and in the park. And it's something to do between the stores, between the food and the retail as well. So there's definitely something to that.
Yeah, one of the things that I think is missing is coordinating when the shops are open and when the activities are taking place. Because there's obviously a problem getting staff right now to keep the stores open, but very often in the evening hours in the summer, the stores are closed.
Yeah, they used to. In the summer, stores were all open until 10 o'clock at night.
A long time ago, in the early 60s, it was like Thursday night, I think it was, on Main Street. The road was closed off and stores were all open. And the kids were running free and having a blast. And there was music and food trucks and fun. And I bet the retail did pretty well that night because you were shopping at head and foot to go back to school and all kinds of stuff.
Well, I'm starting to hear a few challenges here. The opening hours, the lack of, I guess, promotion and coordinated promotion and marketing of things that are happening in downtown seems to be another. So maybe this is a good point for us to jump into things that we need to address in order to promote economic development in town. And so there are challenges you're facing it, whether it's accessing a customer base or having support with marketing and promotion or physical changes that need to occur on your site or in the public realm. I think we'll want to hear a little bit about that as well. So we can start there.
Well, years ago, I can remember when my kids were little, there were no stores open in town at night, and that was when I could go shopping at night, was when my husband came home. So I think there was one store that I went to all the time. It was across from where the Christmas tree shop is now. It was, I can't remember. Anyway, I did a lot of Christmas shopping there. But the problem now is the internet, even if people wanted to stay open at night, people can do their shopping at night on the internet. So I think it's going to be even harder to get businesses to stay open at night. I mean, it was hard enough 30 years ago, and it's never improved, and I can't foresee it really getting any better unless something really changes.
I was just going to say that I think one of the struggles that a lot of businesses that would like to come to Orleans, they cannot year-round figure out the demographic. So as we continue to be one of the oldest demographics in the Commonwealth, what is the niche that they can fulfill that's not here? And that remains elusive to an awful lot of people.
I'm just thinking that if you go to Provincetown, Wellesley, or Harwich, those are Chatham, those are walkable towns, and if you go to any of those towns in the evening, there are a lot of people in the town, and they're shopping or going to galleries, eating in restaurants. And I wonder if that geography of those towns is what's lacking here. We've often talked about Orleans not really being a very walkable town. We have all of our parking lots on Main Street. So many of them facing, buildings are way back. So I would think you'd have to really look at that as why don't people want to walk in town? Even in the summer at 6 o'clock, downtown is empty. nothing
I
happening.
think our biggest challenge is, A, finding employees. Our business goes from about 10 to 15 to about 40, 50. So that's huge. This year was a real struggle because kids were getting paid to sit at home. So that was a huge one. But I think housing the employees is where it gets really difficult. Our employees, majority of the time, have to be family that has a house come vacation for the whole summer. So we get a decent amount of those, but we can't pay people enough in the summer to go and afford rent somewhere the whole summer.
Where are your employees typically living to commute in and work?
With their parents, and the vacation home, really that's it. I house one every now and then, my parents house a couple, so it's tough, but.
Are you at all looking to create a facility?
Yeah, but it's not feasible. If you want to have someone that
Not in
has
town.
10 people, it's going to cost you $1 million,
Yeah.
so it's not happening.
So we are in a unique situation with our tour boat business. We use the town landing at Barley Neck on Meeting House Pond. Right now, there is going to be put in place restrictions on parking so that you will have to have a sticker to park at that lot. There's no accommodation for a daily sticker. You'll have to buy a $125 weekly sticker, seasonal sticker, or lien sticker to park there. That basically precludes us from doing our business off of the town landing. Beyond that, that's personal, but beyond that, there is going to be parking restrictions at the majority of the landings in town. Goose Hummock, River Road, Barley Neck, and some of the other landings. People come here for access to the water. Now we are going to severely limit that access to the water. There is no, there will be no program in place for people to access the landings unless they buy a weekly sticker. So somebody who comes to a B&B and in a motel for 1 to 2, 3 nights, in order to access the landing, to put their kayak in, to use their stand-up paddleboard, to fish off of that landing, will have to pay at a minimum $125 to access those landings. So we are effectively cutting off the landings to visitors. It's very, very, very discouraging when the people on the select board make comments that they can't work with the businesses because of ease of enforcement and ease of administration. We've been to several meetings, and I have to tell you that our board, as well as the town administration, is not business friendly at this point, because they're also talking about limiting Barley Neck Inn and Hog Island with their entertainment licenses. These are why people come to town. And if we start restricting that, there's going to be displacement. And displacement means they go to other towns. Chatham has a vibrant downtown, as has been pointed out. You can go, my daughter lives in Chatham. Any night of the week during the summer, even now, usually after Columbus Day, we see a huge drop-off. No drop-off in Chatham. The stores are open, they have events, music, strolls. They have a variety of reasons to be in Chatham. So if you displace people because they can't access the water here, they're going to access in other places. And I know that it's all about, well, what do the other towns do? How do they control this? And there's ways to do it. But right now, as a business owner, we do not have a seat at the table. And I think that speaks to other businesses in town, that there's a lack of communication on business requirements that are going to affect your business down the road. The only reason why we know about it is because we monitor the Waterways Committee, because we know it affects our business. But if we did not, this could go through at town meeting and I'd be out of business. As well as other water-related businesses that use the town landings. And eventually, this is going to happen at Rock Harbor too. There's going to be parking restrictions. So it's coming down the pike, and it's going to affect all businesses in town, because my customers fish with Goose Hummock. My customers go to the Chocolate Sparrow for coffee. My customers go to the Sparrow Shop. and vice versa, so we're all interconnected. So if you start limiting, and as we've all spoken in this room, waterway access, beach access, what does it do to the economic vitality of the community?
Yeah, and so you mentioned three things regulations-wise. It was the parking restrictions.
Parking restrictions.
Your entertainment licenses.
Yep.
And what was the third?
Well, the other thing that's coming down the pike is, and as a resident, I know the push-pull, I live here in town, short-term rental requirements.
Short-term rental requirements. Okay.
And I know that's, I live in town, the house next door to me just got sold to somebody who's renting it. So I understand the push-pull and the tension of that. But again, do you regulate it to the point that people stop coming here? They're already paying big taxes to be here. That's been put into place by not only the Commonwealth, by the town. So, the Cape is in a very unique place, and Orleans is particularly unique because of the access that we have, because we have a downtown, because we want to promote the area. It's a great place to live, but when you start to regulate businesses to the point that they can no longer be a viable business in town, you're going to have a lot more empty storefronts and restaurants.
Yeah, absolutely. And you started talking about the lack of communication and collaboration with business owners. Are businesses in town communicating with one another through a formal network or an organization of any kind? What is the main way that you're sort of talking to one another? Is it personal? Is there something that's set up, an entity for you?
I think for the most part the chamber, but I think the chamber has kind of been locked out of the communication with the town. They get, how can I put this? We get things through the chamber that the town sends to them. I'm not sure what mechanism is in place for the chamber to be part of the conversation and to represent the things in town. Because quite frankly, if you don't access the town website for agendas, meeting notes, and videos, we don't know what's going on. And again, I think that also speaks to the lack of a newspaper, a central place to get information. What's going on. Because quite frankly, like I said, if we didn't monitor what's going on for our own business, and since we've been monitoring and listening to the select board, it's not just my personal business. I see the attitude towards the entertainment venues, to the restaurants. It's not very business friendly. It's not very business friendly. And I think as much as we want to be a year-round economy, we are still a seasonal economy. And most of our businesses, to some degree, rely on visitors. And visitors should not be looked at like a wallet or a checkbook. And that's what's coming from the board, that the visitors need to pay and pay big if they want to come to Orleans.
A case in point that I thought was really interesting this year, the Chamber of Commerce was going to hold a Halloween for vendors on Main Street for candies, and the weather report was bad, so they canceled it, but they didn't postpone it. But my understanding is through social media, I was out there because I'm at Beach Road Properties, there were hundreds of kids and families, and they all did it through social media. But the chamber had canceled it, but they hadn't postponed it, so it was done. And then Sunday was a beautiful day, and somehow word of mouth got around, and it was great. Families came from Wellfleet, Truro. I mean, it was phenomenal, and I think that's something the town should really, it was great to see all these kids and families. I've never seen that many in this town.
Well, this is an open question for everyone here in the room. I think it differs from one community to another, the way that you're getting information about whether it be business issues or local entertainment and retail or dining offers. Are you getting this information primarily in print or digitally?
I think in that case, just a couple business owners themselves took it upon themselves to
Business
open.
owners and moms.
Yes.
Online?
I think it was online. I don't know. I don't know how it got around. I just know it got
Still
around.
online.
Online.
There is no print.
Yeah, you're online, yes.
Yeah.
Anyone looking in print for anything, or you're getting information primarily digitally?
Oh, I do on print.
In print?
Chatham Chronicles, good. I like to
Chatham
read that.
Chronicles.
Social media, come on.
Yeah, social media, okay. So which business is doing that the best? Being online, being visible and present, getting traffic through digital. Who's the best practice or the case study in town, I guess?
I don't know.
We do pretty good. We got about 20,000 followers on Instagram. That's why we get a lot of business. Like I said, people come from New York, Connecticut, Maine. A lot of people come in and say they've seen our YouTube videos because we do long, 25-hour-long videos explaining like how to catch tuna from start to finish. And that's where we get a lot of our customers from. They come in and say, oh yeah, we saw you online, saw you here, there. So that's what we try to do.
So challenges you've heard, regulations, housing for employees, or even just getting employees, anything real estate wise?
Not real estate wise, but I think you have to look at the ages of the people in Orleans.
Customer base.
We do not attract young people because they can't afford to be here,
Right.
unless they're living with parents or in a parent's summer home. What business here really has a sustainable income year-round, except maybe teachers and medical practices, to say that a family with 2 young kids can live here? I don't know what they are. Many of us are retired. We had homes here for a long time, and we're living here now. But what do we really bring to the economics of the town? You hear a lot of griping from the older people that they can't do this and they can't do that in July and August or something, but what is the town really all about? And what age group does the town cater to? And I think that's where they can either obliterate the town or move forward with some other ideas, whatever they may be. Because if you look at the age of all of us in this room, and we're probably all early risers and nobody else at home to get out the door, you know, I think it's a big factor.
Yeah, I'd like to add on to that for sure. Being a youngster, I ain't got many friends.
Yeah,
My parents own business, right? So my parents own business. I'll still have to go fishing, climbing, scalloping.
Gonna have to make sure you
From
both
like
are handicapped
January through March, I'll still have to
adapted.
go work another job to kind of just afford just to stay here. So it's tough. It's hard, and not many people want to do it like I'm doing it, for sure.
I was just gonna say, it's almost parenthetical, but the Council on Aging is one of the most viable places in town, because I saw the other day that recently, the average age of the people that use the services there is like, in the 80s.
I think we have seen a number of younger, especially with COVID, younger families living here. Now, whether or not they're going to be permanent residents or not, I don't know. But I think, as workers can be more nomadic, right, and work from anywhere, I mean, we certainly have the beauty, we have a place that people would love to spend a lot of time in. And if we had, a good business infrastructure for them to be able to work remotely from a place like this, I think we could probably bring in young families. We've got a great school system. We've got all the amenities that those people would want. We do have high real estate prices, which sort of is a problem, but if we could find a way to have some, more affordable housing in town, then I think we could attract, that class of people.
Okay, so housing gap, yeah.
Not to be contradictory, but those kind of workers aren't the workers that are basically needed in this community. We need service workers in this community to service almost all of the businesses that are represented.
Well, see, I think those workers are going to be customers, right, as opposed to be the workers. But, you could, and customers are just as important as, the people behind the counter.
I think we're hearing we need both, right? We need the service workers for the businesses that currently exist here, but then we also need to diversify the customer base, which is currently leaning older, wealthier, and there's different price points that we need, and different lifestyles as well. So I'm hearing we sort of need both. That's the missing gap here. Any other challenges I think that we need to raise?
The housing situation, which is a big issue that's developed very much so in the last 2 years of the skyrocketing pricing. And the town is responding with some housing proposals with, but they all are rentals. I don't know how many people would want to move into a rental condominium style structure and raise a family. I don't believe that that's a viable possibility, which excludes people who want to move here as educators, fire and police, general population. I don't know who's really going to occupy these rental units. I think they're probably going to be retired people, for the most part.
That's actually,
And if you're paying rent, nobody's going to be able to build equity to ever own property here anyway.
Yeah.
So we're not really targeting the problem. The best solution I've seen to date anywhere is Habitat for Humanity. If somehow the town can get involved in help subsidizing land to donate to or work with Habitat. But if people done it private ownership, then have to stay here.
Are there developments in town that are newer that might be the product that these other demographics are looking for, that's younger, like yourself working in service industries, or younger professionals that are looking for smaller homes, they're not looking for large homes? Are there products that currently exist in the market?
No.
That we might look at? No.
No. And a lot of the affordable housing, it always strikes me, I'm not involved in it all, there's more majority of one-bedroom apartments, and I'm thinking, well, how many families is that going to affect when, I'm sure it's a formula, but.
Yeah.
Okay. In other towns, are there other developments that we should be looking at that might be the model for housing of different demographics?
East Hampton's just built a big project, and that place was filled almost, well, it was filled before it was finished.
Was that a rental product or a
Yes.
sale product?
Rental.
Rental.
I think it's 65 units.
We have just a few more minutes here, so just want to wrap up the conversation that we have. Thank you so much for all of your feedback and your thoughts. It's been really important for us to hear it, and as you can see, Joe has been taking notes. If there's anything actually on the screen that you might have taken down wrongly or needs a little bit of a tweak, please, after this, feel free to come forward and talk with us and let us know that there's a little bit of change that needs to be made. But this last section, I think we want to talk about priorities. Based on what we've heard today from everyone in the room, you see up here some of the strengths and the challenges that we've talked about. What are our priorities moving forward? Where do we want to focus our efforts on? Obviously, the town has limited capacity and resources to spread around. Do we want to focus on, solving this challenge of employees in the service sector? Do we want to solve for diversification of your customer base? Not just simply relying on the older local customer base, maybe diversifying that or growing the visitor customers. Whatever that might be, or your physical environment. I think we've heard a few things about walkability being an issue in certain sections of town for customers. Where are folks leaning with our priorities?
Stop impeding on businesses. Like $160 a week is outrageous.
Mm-hmm.
That Town Cove launch right behind our shop, you can't use it. You have to go to the Orleans Yacht Club. Because if you use that town rent, it's so flat. Your car is going to be halfway under the water. We see it all the time.
Okay.
So you got to pay $160 for that, and the bulkhead's failing there. That's going to be a huge issue in the next 10 years. That's just so bad. River Road, $160 for River Road. You can only park 2 boats there. Disgusting. That's hard. And that's going to cause so many of our people that have homes here, they're paying the property taxes. They've got their boats, which is bringing in all kinds of revenue. And they're just going to not come here. They're just gonna go out of Pleasant Bay, somewhere down south, possibly.
So business regulations, we need to be business friendly.
Yeah, I'd expand on that, and I'd say that it'd be good if town employees and, you know, key members of, you know, like the select board, actually had a seminar on how to be business friendly. I think that, you know, it's just the whole infrastructure that we have in town is not business friendly. And I think we need to educate those people that are really running the town in how to be business friendly and
So-
what it means to the town.
Internal training at town.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Maybe they
The
could look at
question,
signage too.
This is a town looking for an identity. Does this town, following up, want to be business friendly? I'm not sure that it does.
Okay.
I'd second that.
Okay.
And-
I'd second that. I'm not sure that the town wants to be business friendly.
It's searching for a new identity. It's not, as George and Surrey said, this used to be the hub of Orleans back in the day. I mean, everybody from Wellfleet, Eastham, Brewster used to come to Orleans for all of the commercial activity. That doesn't happen, according to town planner, the way it used to happen. So what's the identity of this town?
What's
Seems
the
like you
return
don't
on
know.
investment of doing this?
Sorry, I heard signage back there. What was the issue with signage?
The town should look at it, maybe it needs to be updated.
There's a major,
There is,
major,
yeah.
major initiative going on. You
Oh,
can-
is
I'll
there?
send you, I'll get you, I'll send you a link to what's being done.
Okay, that would be.
As I said, or I know Representative, as I said at the meeting here in the brief introduction, I do hope that this is the impetus for the town to look a little bit differently at how we do conduct business. This is all part of that. You know, from things we've heard here, there are obviously some challenges, but I hope that this economic development does indeed get us some ideas to get to the corner office, so things may indeed change.
Anyone else? This is where you leave us with, this is what I want you to do, street sense. This is the point at which, you know, we make clear our priorities as a community. If you have any other thoughts on where you think our focus should lie, we do have a lot more time ahead of us as we're doing this research and developing the plan for you. And we want to make sure that it's rooted in community input. We're not inviting you here to share and not take that into consideration at all. Please know that all of the feedback and the notes have been taken down. We're going to distribute that in summary to George, the planning board, so they'll have that information as well. The meeting has been recorded. If other neighbors and folks in town you think who have really valuable feedback, who maybe should have been here but are not here, please feel free to let them know. The meetings are all recorded and they're going to be put online on the town's website so they can view all of the meetings, all 4 focus groups. So this one is focused on business issues and challenges. The next one is going to be about arts and culture. We've got some folks in the arts and cultural sectors joining us. The third will be with environment and conservation, and then the 4th with your real estate community as well, because that's obviously a really huge sector for not just for Orleans but for Lower Cape. So you'll be able to view all of them online if you're interested in the other topics. And if at any point through the process you have any other feedback, please feel free to reach out to George, myself, Noor, Joe on our team. I think some of you RSVP to Joe, so you have his email, so please feel free to email him as well. And we'll be back in town, holding meetings remotely, but for all of you to attend in the next couple of months. Once we're done with this first phase of hearing from folks, doing the research, we're going to report back so we can have that opportunity to say, this is everything that we've heard, where we think, you know, the next steps might lie based on the research and everyone's feedback. And then following that, we'll be developing a draft plan, and the final will not be distributed until we've gotten feedback from stakeholders again. So there's going to be 2 other touchstones in the process with local stakeholders. So stay tuned. You will hear from us again. So if you emailed us at any point during the outreach, we have your emails, and you'll continue to get news about this effort, and everything will be available online on the town's website as well. So thank you all for attending. If there's anything else you need to share with us, please feel free to come up and speak to Joe or myself. We'll be here for the rest of the day, and our next meeting starts at 10 o'clock for the arts and culture folks. So thank you.
Thank you.